Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name's Laura and this is Purely Inspired Living. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. All right friends, before we get too far into this, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little plug here. So if you've been here before and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to get you really involved in this community we have here. If you just know that you're really into astrology, then go ahead and like this video, share it with anybody you think would find this entertaining, and also check out my my podcast. I mentioned it in the video, and my YouTube videos here really go hand in hand with what we're talking about over on the podcast. So I will link all of that below, but I just wanted to go ahead and plug that in here. So thank you guys, and let's get back into it. All right, so today we're going to take a very basic look at astrology. And what I mean by basic is we are just going to look at a natal chart, okay? So on my podcast, which I believe will be coming out in 1 week, I talk about the big three. So maybe you've heard of the big three, maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about. So the big three in astrology are going to be your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. And in the podcast, I talk about what they kind of mean for you and how you can use understanding your signs to better understand your personality. Today in this, I'm just going to take you to a website and show you a couple of different natal charts so you can see how to even locate them on a birth chart or a natal chart. So that is one thing I want to go ahead and mention. I do switch back and forth between natal chart and birth chart. They're the exact same thing. I tend to call it a natal chart. Natal just means birth, and birth means birth. So a birth chart and a natal chart are the same thing. We talk about birth chart or natal chart versus the current planetary placement. So that's a difference that you will hear about if you're following any astrology stuff. Say it's currently Mercury retrograde, all right? So say we're talking about Mercury retrograde, we're talking about current planetary placements. That is not your natal chart, all right? That's how it's different. Your natal chart is a snapshot of what the sky looked like at the moment of your birth. That's literally what it means. What was going on in the sky when you were born. Whereas if you're talking about current stuff, that's what it looks like right this moment. And they are different. Even if you're on your same birth date, the sky is going to look different than it did the moment you were born. So it really is just like a singular moment in history almost, which is cool. So I've got notes because we've got a lot to talk about. I do want to go ahead and say, if you've never seen a natal chart, or if you're really confused about how it starts or where it starts. So if you're looking at the circle, because a natal chart, it's a circle, right? It will be, if you're looking at a compass, it's going to be that western location. That's where it starts, all right? That's where the very beginning is. It's at that western location on like a compass rose, all right? And then it travels counterclockwise. So the zodiac will follow the same progression, but it's going to go in a counterclockwise motion, all right? These are just a couple of things that I was confused by at first. So I figured I'd go ahead and just make this video, again, very basic. Astrology, if you know anything about astrology, knows it's really deep. There's a lot of components, there's a lot going on, and the interactions with everything by itself and with other stuff, it's a lot. It's a lot of information. It's really hard to understand it. And it's really hard to understand what it means for you personally. I'm really sorry about what you're hearing in the background. I mean, I have a husband and a son, and let me tell you, they're not quiet people. So, sorry. I'm sorry. This is my second time recording it, and I had to redo it because of all the noise outside. So, you know, this is life. So, I hope you enjoy that it's not just you. It's everywhere. It's here too. All right, getting back to it. So, it's the rising sign is that western location. Now remember, your rising sign is the exact moment you were born, what the horizon looked like. So the zodiac sign that was on the horizon at the moment of your birth, that is where your natal chart begins. And that is your rising sign. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes some sense. If you do not know the time of your birth, we are going to look at a chart that looks like that, okay? So if you do not know the moment of your birth, you're not going to be able to know your rising sign, and you're not going to be able to know your houses. We'll get into the houses here in a second. You might not know the time you were born, so you're not going to know your rising sign, but you most likely will be able to figure out your moon sign. So you won't know which degree your moon sign is at, but that's getting way too deep, people. Okay, we're not there yet. So as long as we know the sign itself, and you should be able to figure that out. And like I said, we're going to look at a chart that we don't know the time at, and I'll show you what that looks like, okay? So we'll be able to determine your sun sign, most likely your moon sign, but we won't know your rising sign. But really knowing if you only start to understand your sun sign, you're right on track. That's exactly right, because again, it's a lot, and connecting all these pieces is so much. Like it is so much. So if you are like stressed, if you don't understand, don't worry. Like I barely understand, and I'm trying to teach you guys this, but like I understand this much. So, you know, we'll learn together and, you know, figure this out, right? Let me see what else. Okay. I use the Placidus system. You'll see I talk about it. It's listed as the Placidus system. There are a couple of different systems that you could use. I know whole sign is another really popular one. And the difference that I have found with Placidus versus whole sign is the housing structure. Now, we are not going to go into housing in this episode. I show you where the houses are and kind of just say, hey, the sun is in the 11th house kind of thing. And I show you where that location is. But outside of that, that's as deep as we go into housing. So Placidus versus whole sign, and just to a very basic look at your natal chart, isn't going to be a big deal. I've just been using the Placidus because I didn't know any better. And so since that's what I've been using, that's what I know. So that's what I'm going to stick with. If you use whole sign, if you already know the difference and you use whole sign, that's good for you. Way to know more than me. But since we're not getting into the housing system, it's not going to matter. When you go more in depth, that's where you'll start to see that difference between Placidus and whole sign is with the housing and the kind of spin that the houses put on those planetary placements. So I hope I didn't lose you. I hope we're still good. Because again, astrology, very deep. There's so much information. There's so much going on. So it's really easy to get lost. So I really don't want us to get too much too soon. Like we're dipping a toe in to this whole like astrology thing, because if you go like you just cannonball into that, you're not coming back up. Like it's like whew, there's so much happening. So this is just a basic like how do you find your big three in your natal chart. All right, and yeah, I think that's all we have. So let's head on over to looking at a couple of charts. Okay, so we're gonna start out here at AstroSeek. It's a pretty reliable website for this. So I like using this one. So they have a bunch of stuff. So you have a birth chart, a compatibility horoscope, your ascending sign, moon phases, which is very cool. Daily horoscope, like in 17 magazine. They down here, there are different branches of astrology. Did you even know that? It's crazy. And then you'll also see that they have retrograde tables here. So like we're currently in Mercury retrograde, that you'd find there. But for us, we're going to go up here to the birth chart. So go up here and click on birth chart. And it's going to take you to a birth chart calculator. Now over here, you'll see that there are the current placements. So that's what's in the sky right now. So the sun is in Taurus at 20 degrees. The moon, 9 degrees of Aquarius. This little R right here means retrograde. So Mercury is in retrograde at 6 degrees of Taurus. You know, Venus in Cancer, Mars in Cancer, Jupiter in Aries. All of them are listed. Down here, there's another retrograde. Pluto is also in retrograde. But here, this is to find out your birth chart. So go to your date of birth, your month, your birth month, and then the year you were born. Now, I made this date up. So, you know, if you were born June the 10th of 1995, here you go. Let's say the time is 10:04. 10:04 in the morning. And say this person was born in Chicago, Illinois. So a whole list pops up. Click on the one that you're looking for. And then calculate chart. All right. So here we are. We've got our birth chart calculated. So double check your information. So the date of birth, make sure you were born the 10th of June, 1995 at 10:04 Central Time. There's local time. We're using the Placidus house system, latitude, longitude, city. It's all right there. Now, it always starts right here at this ascension line, the ascending, also known as the rising sign. You'll see it is actually in Leo, right here at 18 degrees of Leo. So that's going to be the rising sign. So the charts always start at the rising sign right here, and they move counterclockwise. So this is your first house. Here's your second house, your third house, so on and so forth. Down here is where it shows you the zodiac signs. Oh, the moon sign is right here in Scorpio. All right, 13 degrees of Scorpio. That's the moon sign. Remember, moons are emotions, and that's sitting in the fourth house. Keep going on around the zodiac wheel to find our sun, and we find our sun right here in Gemini. We are at 19 degrees of Gemini in the 11th house. So those are those symbols that you'll find in your natal chart. Like I said, they always start with the ascension. Now over here, that's the birth chart sign, all right? There's the sun is in Gemini right there. And we say, all right, sun in Gemini. We look over here, there's Gemini. And then at 19 degrees, we've got our sun sign, Gemini, sun sign at 19 degrees. So that's how you kind of mix and match those two together. Check the moon if you don't know where the moon sign is. Oh, fun fact, it also tells what the moon phase was when you were born. This person was born under a Mercury retrograde, which isn't super uncommon. And actually they have a lot of retrogrades down here. So that happens. So this right here tells you the houses and what sign each house is in and at what degree. We're not going to go too far into that. So again, so your sun sign is in the 11th house in Gemini. Your moon sign's down here in Scorpio at 13 degrees. And your rising sign, again, is Leo at 18 degrees. That's what all this means. Okay, so let's say we do not know the time of our birth. So let's do an example here. So let's go December. Actually, you know what would be fun? What if we use my papa's birthday? So he was born the 13th of December, way back in 1938, way back there. So let's say we do not know the time, because I do not know the time he was born. So we'll go here and we'll reset these real quick since we put that we don't know the time. And he was born in Hazard, Kentucky. So, Hazard, Kentucky right there. All right, calculate. I have never done this before, so this will be interesting. All right, here we go. So, yep, check the birth date, December 13th, right there. Now, as you will notice, that dark black line, that dark black ascending line, and the straight up and down line is not there because we do not know the time of birth. So it will always start right here at Aries, all right? That ascending sign is not there. We don't know where the horizon was, so we're just going to start right here at Aries at the beginning. Now, December is in Sagittarius. So look right there, sun is at 21 degrees of Sagittarius. And look, there are no housing systems. So we do not know what house it falls in. It just falls into Sagittarius. And we see that right there. Then we have the moon. Now, because we don't know the moon or the exact time, the moon could be in question. But as you look over here, very clearly the moon falls somewhere in Virgo. Okay. So just because we don't know the time, that doesn't mean we can't find out the moon time. So he was clearly a Virgo moon. Now, it could be any of those 10 degrees, 17 degrees, or 24 degrees. We could be anywhere in there. But it is for sure Virgo, which is enough information. Now, if that was a little to the left or right, and it could mean that maybe there was a Libra moon, but this one clearly falls in Virgo, so no question there. But, okay, and then again, it tells you what moon phase was in at that time. He also had a Mercury retrograde, as we can see right there in Sagittarius. He has several retrogrades. Me too, actually. So then, see, there is no ascending sign, so it all, again, starts right there with Aries and just goes around the zodiac wheel like it normally does. And we're missing the houses. So right here we have a pretty empty Gemini. So as you can see, there aren't any planets right here in Gemini. And really Leo is almost empty. Libra is empty. And actually, if you look across there, Pisces is also empty. But again, down here where it shows you where the houses start at, they all say 0 because there is no housing system because you don't know the time of birth. All right. And as you go further into astrology, the houses play a role in how these kind of shape the characters. But all of the rest, all the planets are good to go. All right. So I hope that you found that really helpful. Again, this is not for people who are advanced astrologers. This is not for people who are intermediate astrologers. This is really for people who are just now looking into astrology and what this natal chart looks like. All right, so again, I hope you found it helpful. And even if you've been kind of interested in astrology, I still hope you found this helpful. I know that these were some of the things that I was really confused by at first. I hope that's not too distracting. So a couple of things. For one, I do mention the degrees that some of these placements were at. So I know the sun sign was at 19 degrees of Gemini in one of those charts. The degrees, it plays a role. I mean, it wouldn't be there if it didn't do anything, but the degrees really comes in when you're really digging into astrology. At the very beginning, the zodiac sign and the planet are plenty of information. That's why I'm not even getting into the houses. I do think the houses are important, so are the degrees, but the houses definitely are important, but that's too overwhelming, honestly. Like, even if you're like a quick learner, it's just a lot. It really is too much. So I do mention the degrees, but they are, just think that they're there. I mean, it does tell you how far through that zodiac sign it's in, but again, we're looking at that basic level, so just knowing that the sun is in Gemini is where we're at right now. I hope you saw that you can still get a lot of information even if you're not sure the time that you were born. The location is important, but the time, we can still get a lot of information from that. We can still get a lot of really good information. I mean, we won't know the houses, but we're not looking at that anyway. And we won't know our ascending sign, so we don't know where that zodiac wheel starts, and we don't know, again, when you listen to the podcast, I described that your ascending sign is kind of your approach to life, or the way, or the image that you're projecting. We won't know that part. But the planets don't move that fast that changes anything. So you should get your moon sign, you should get your sun sign, and you should get all those planets, their retrogrades, all of that. All of that should be very stable. The only thing you're really missing are your houses and your ascending sign. But if you're just starting, take a step back and a deep breath, and just know that just figuring out your sun sign and your moon sign is more than enough information to really start diving into your personality. So again, this information is a-okay for a beginner. All right, so I think that's about all I have for you for today. I do plan on diving more into astrology, because I was messaging a friend, a very dear friend of mine earlier, and I was like, what questions would you have? And she fired off a whole bunch, and it really got me thinking. So I'm gonna do several of these that really kind of hone in on using astrology to do life. Like, what does it mean for your literal everyday life? Besides reading a horoscope in 17 magazine, and I mentioned that in my podcast, or any of your standard generated horoscopes. So how do you take this information and actually utilize it for your benefit in everyday life? And I really wanted to dive more into that. So I'm going to be doing a few more videos like this, so hopefully you're enjoying them. Please leave any comments that you have. I almost forgot, if you wouldn't mind, if you wouldn't like the video, if you think this content is something you'd be interested in, go ahead and subscribe. If you have questions, comments, leave them down below. I would love to get a dialogue started and really start interacting with this community that we have. So, okay, I think that's it. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by today. And until next time, I hope you stay inspired.